The topic of today's webinar is managing anger and promoting peace. You will agree with me that if we can manage anger, we'll be able to promote peace. If we can curtail anger, we'll be able to promote peace. And I would love to begin this webinar with some quotes, if you don't mind. Let's just reflect on some of these quotes as we go into the business of the day properly. Every day, we have plenty of opportunities to get angry, stressed, or offended. But what you are doing while you indulge in these negative emotions is giving something outside yourself power over your happiness. You can choose to not let little things upset you. It is a choice when you refuse to allow things upset you. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, please, if you don't mind, you can please mute your audio. Thank you. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, for every minute you remain angry, you give up 60 seconds of peace of mind. Confucius said, when anger rises, think of the consequences. Catherine Purcell said, anger resolves nothing. It only puts up your blood pressure. Buddha said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burnt. Mark Twain said, anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. Aristotle said, anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose in the right way, that is not within everybody's power, and it is not easy. Someone has said happiness can be found even in the darkest of time, if only one remembers to turn on the lights. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. All these are quotes with which we want to begin the business of the day. Anger is a natural emotion common to all humans, but it's not limited to humans. Animals also get angry. Elements of nature also get angry. We've had instances whereby some pets, some so-called pets at home, when angry, have done damage to some of the children at home. Elements of nature, the sea gets angry at times, even the sky. Humans in their wisdom have to a large extent tamed the anger of wild animals. Animals that are known to be wild are now domesticated. But in spite of these achievements, we have failed in some other areas. And one of such areas is the ability for us as humans to manage our own anger. What is anger? Anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. The Oxford Dictionary puts it this way. It said, it is the strong feeling that you have when something happens that is unfair, when something bad happens to you, when something painful happens to you. Dictionary.com tells us that anger is fury, indignation, rage that is deep and strong. And because of the depth, it is being activated by injury, wrong, and injustice. Anger is the general term for a sudden violence. The American Psychological Association defines anger as an emotion characterized by antagonism towards someone or something you feel has deliberately wronged you. Study.com says anger can be defined as a feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or antagonism. Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English says that anger is difficult to control and is usually associated with violence. But with all this definition of anger, there are some unique things about anger. What are the uniqueness of anger? What makes an individual angry may not make somebody else angry, because what an individual considers as important, someone else may not consider it as being important. Anger may be a manifestation of a reflex action or a voluntary action. Anger may be planned. There are instances whereby someone deliberately makes up his own mind, when I get to the office today and he says this to me and he says that to me, I will react this way. Anger may be planned, or anger may be unplanned. Anger may be obvious or hidden. For some persons, when they are angry, it is visible. For other persons, when they are angry, it is not visible. Anger can be deceptive most of the times. I've come to understand that some persons, when they smile, they do not smile because they are happy. Do you know that some persons, when they are angry, they smile? Some persons, when they are happy, they frown. Some persons, you cannot even tell their emotional state from their facial expression. They are indifferent. So the facial expression of an individual may be able to tell us if that person is angry or not. But for some persons, looking at them, you cannot tell whether they are happy or sad or angry. The extent to which we display our anger differs from some person to person. And for some individuals, they are able to cool off easily. But for other persons, once they are angry, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time for them to cool off. Some persons, it is difficult to provoke them. But when they get provoked, only the unimaginable happens. Many on the other side, it may not be a popular opinion, but some persons, they believe that until they get angry, they may not be able to accomplish their set out goals. What works for one may work for another in a different way. I also discovered that some persons use anger to control others. In a work setting, in an office environment, in a relationship between a superior and a subordinate, we have instances whereby subordinates carry out the instructions of their superiors, not because they desire to, but they are simply trying to invade the route of their superior. From my understanding, when someone is part of a team, he or she should be committed to a corporate goal. He or she comes into the establishment as an individual. But when you enter into the establishment, you become a part of the team. So it's no longer an I team, it becomes a we team. But many organizations, they rule with the rod and the staff. How do I mean? When you do this, this is the consequence. When you do that, that is the consequence. So their workers and their subordinates, because of tension and fear, they are subjected to following the rules by the books. And you will agree with me. Now, when someone is under pressure, he cannot be creative. He cannot be innovative. The best in him will never come out. There are some homes whereby the husband uses anger to subdue the wife. And in some cases, we have instances where the wife uses anger to subdue the man. There are instances where parents use anger to subdue their children. When children are unable to meet up targets, they are being disciplined. So in a way to avoid being disciplined, they are submissive. But that submissiveness is not because they understand what they are to do. They are trying to evade punishment. And when those children go out into the society, they are not at liberty to do whatever they choose to do because they are no longer under the confines of their parents. Now, let us discuss this. Is anger a sign of weakness or strength? Many see anger as a show of strength. Revenge and retaliation is a default human response when someone is angry. When someone is being harassed or embarrassed, or he's being treated in a way he should not be treated, when that person decides to walk away peacefully, everybody around will call him a weakling. But when that man reacts with violence, everybody around will call him a strong man. But strength is generally viewed as an asset, while weakness is viewed as a liability. Now, let us ask ourselves, if strength is a virtue, how do we measure it? Do we measure strength by size or by its impact? Virtues are not measured by size, but virtues are measured by impact. If we say strength, if we say anger is strength, now, does that mean when an individual becomes angry and begins to manifest the signs of anger, do we say he's strong? When someone that is supposed to react negatively decides to be mute, do we conclude that he's weak? There's a story I'd love to share. A girl was going out with two men. One was a medical student, and the other was the chairman of a motor park. And on a certain day, both men met themselves in the house of the girl. The chairman of the motor park was very angry. He threatened to beat up the medical students. And everybody around, they were begging this man because of his size, because of his muscular physique. And the medical student just looked at him, rushed towards him, and punched him in one part of his body. Immediately he punched the man fell down. And everybody that had been begging this motor park chairman now turned to the medical students and began to plead with him. What have you done to this man? Please, whatever you know you've done, please bring him back to life. They were carried away by the strength of the motor park chairman. But strength is not measured by size. Strength is measured by impact. If anger is a strength, the question is, what can anger achieve? What is the impact of anger? How does anger affect the host? And how does anger affect the target? Being angry may not be too bad, but at the end of the escapade, when we begin to flash our mind back through the actions we have carried out while we were angry, are we proud enough to associate with what we've done? If we are proud to associate with the consequences of our anger, then we can conclude that anger means strength. But if we cannot associate with the consequence of our anger, then I don't think anger is a strength. Don't forget, Mark Twain said, anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. Please permit me to confirm if you are still with me and if you can still hear me clearly.
We can hear you, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Fire on, sir. We are with you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I
Thank
can
you.
hear you, my brother from another mother.
Your Excellency, I appreciate you, sir.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. A man who, despite being strong, does not harm his opponent. A man, despite the resources available in his arsenal, if he does not do wrong to someone that has wronged him, we generally call him a weak person. The big question is, when you get angry with someone that is angry with you, what next will happen? When we take a flashback, we may constrain ourselves before taking some decisions. And when we look ahead, we may constrain ourselves before taking some decisions. Most times, the need to undo one another becomes unavoidable. When we become angry, what happens? We are now vulnerable. Our defenses are now weakened. We may find ourselves doing things we couldn't have done if we were in a rational state of mind. If you don't have the floor, please mute your mouth, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Most times when someone becomes angry with someone else that has offended him, and the scenario is becoming so thick, temper arising, whoever decides to step in will be considered as an enemy and an intruder. Why is anger dangerous? We are only aware of ourselves. And no matter how much we know about ourselves, we cannot be too sure of what we will do when we allow anger take over us. There's what is known as dissociative identity disorder. This is a mental health condition whereby some individuals have multiple dispositions per time. It leads to gap in memory and feeling of anger. Now, you are not too sure of the mental state of the person. If you do not have the floor, please mute your mic, please.
Can this person mute his own? Let them mute their distance.
Yes, please, just
We're not
yourself.
hearing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Chika, please, if you don't mind, help me mute everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Feelings of anger arise due to how we interpret and how we react to certain issues. Issues of anger arise based on how we react to different things as they come our way. Anger is like setting fire on one's home that is filled with hay. First, we may end up losing our house and then proceed to lose the house of somebody else. We should not forget that whatever it took us years to gain, years to earn, can be destroyed within a few seconds when we allow the rage of anger take over us. One of the easiest ways to manage anger is if we can, for a time, think about the aftermath effect of being angry. Anger management is a psychotherapeutic program for anger prevention and control. It has been described as deploying anger successfully. So anger on its own, as we will see later, may not be too bad, but what it leads to may not be the reason why we should take time to put ourselves under checks and balances. The goal of anger management is to reduce both your emotional feelings and your psychological arousals that causes your anger. Where can anger management be relevant? Anger management can be relevant to self. As an individual, we need to efficiently manage ourselves. Remember when we started, we were able to establish that there are 7 universal emotions that is common, not just to man, Even animals get angry at times. So as individuals, the place of anger management is very vital. We should be able to manage ourselves. Those who leave themselves the way they are may never get to where they are supposed to be. We should be able to sit ourselves down. It's been said, he who fails to plan has planned to fail. Whoever lives an unplanned life will always get an unplanned result. Self-management of anger is very important, because looking at the source of anger, self can even provoke self to become angry. The place of self-management is very crucial. Management of anger within the home. Some persons, the source of their anger may be their self-esteem. Some persons, the source of their anger may be the position they find themselves. Even within the family, man and woman, anger is unavoidable. It will always occur, but the ability to manage it is what makes the difference. Have you ever wondered that the rate at which marriages are dissolved in our time is so alarming? Where is the love they once professed? These were persons at some time, they call themselves 247. They exchange SMS 247. And after some few years, they do not want to see each other again. Why? Because they are angry with themselves. We have been able to establish that anger is normal. Anger is universal. But the question is, what do you do with anger? If someone is giving 1 million naira today, the question is, in the next 1 month, will he still be a millionaire? If he will still be a millionaire as a function of what he's able to do with that money. So it is not the money in his hand that matters, but the question is, what can he do with that sum? And there are some persons that may not have up to 1 million naira, but if they put whatsoever they have to judicious use, in the next couple of months, they may be able to have up to 1 million naira. So what you have is not as important as how you use it. So when anger arises, when there's cause to be angry, it is not bad. But how do we use anger? How do we process anger? We should understand that there's a thin line between being angry and staying angry. It is normal when a husband becomes angry with his wife. It is normal when a child becomes angry with the parents. It is normal when a brother becomes angry with his own brother. But the truth is, what does this anger lead to? In organizations, we have seen it happens every day. People get angry with themselves. Colleagues in the same cadre get angry with themselves. Subordinates getting angry with superiors. Superiors getting angry with subordinates. There are instances whereby colleagues, staff of the same organization, end up fighting because of anger. The question, is it wrong to be angry? No. But what is wrong in the anger is a function of what we do with the anger. We have seen instances whereby someone is being posted away from a department and somebody else replaces him as the boss or the head. Those under him will begin to protest, forgetting the fact that two persons can never be the same. We have seen instances whereby some persons are being caught performing some heinous activities. And when you ask them, why did you go into robbery? They will tell you, because of societal pressure. Why did you go into prostitution? They will tell you, because of societal pressure. So I came to understand that because of their anger towards the society, they were prepared to pick up some ventures that is not honorable. But will you help me to answer these questions? Are there no other persons that are still victims of the same situations that got some dignified things to do? Are there other persons that still find themselves in some disadvantaged positions, getting themselves skilled that they were able to grow up with in life? Some persons use anger against the society to pick up arms Some few years ago, when there was this amnesty program, we saw some persons renouncing their activities because they were pushed into it because of societal disposition. But societal disposition, either positive or negative, is not a valid point to push someone to become a slave of his own self. There's anger management towards the government. This may sound funny, but if you have a generating set in your house, do you know that that generating set is a measure of anger management? Why? We are supposed to have constant power supply, but because we cannot boast of constant power supply, we are disadvantaged. We are not happy with the system. We are not happy with the government. We go a step further by purchasing the generating set as a way of mitigating our anger. Many years ago, there was pipeline water flowing through the streets of many major cities, but it is not so today. Out of frustration and anger, some persons have taken a step further to drill boreholes in their house of residence, to drill boreholes in their offices. You will agree with me, because they were angry with the government, that the government were unable to provide some basic amenities. That anger was put into productive use. That anger was efficiently managed. They took a step further by providing for themselves what the government naturally should provide for them. So you will see that being angry is not as bad as we think. But the question, as I've always said, what step do we take with the anger? Anywhere you find man, anywhere you find life, anger is inevitable. And so managing our anger is very crucial. How do we remove anger from our lives? We should not forget that anger, pride, greed always harm the owner. It always harms the host. But people do not understand this. Remember one of the quotes we said, that anger is like an acid. It is a threat to where it is being stored, not just where it's being poured. Let us look at this analogy.
Wallahi, I'm sorry, we couldn't make it yesterday.
Please, if you don't have the floor, if you don't mind, please mute yourself. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's look at this analogy. If you were to starve for a period of time, you will lose strength. If you were to starve for a period of time, you become more conscious. So there are some triggers that give life and vitality to anger. If we are to starve anger of these triggers, it will no longer be as powerful and disastrous as it has always been. Many persons want to subdue anger mechanically, but it's not as easy as they think it is. Anger management is not a walk in the park. Your personality can evolve throughout your journey in life. Now, I want us to study this. I did a little research and I came across these two religious sects. One, the Hinduism. In Hindu, there's a practice. The practice is called Prayopasvisa. It involves an individual staying away from food because that person has made up his mind to die. So in order to die, the person begins a fast and fast till he or she dies. When someone becomes frustrated, when someone has no more desire to live, they embark on fasting to end their life with an aim of gradually reducing their energy until it gets to a point they can no longer hold themselves and they die off. There's another religion, Jainism, one of the oldest religions, originated from India. In Jainism, there's a practice called Santara. In Santara, a particular Jain, a follower of Jainism, when he becomes so sick and there's no more cure for his sickness, he will embark on a fast. He will give up food and give up water, preparing to die. Or when a particular genius becomes so old, what do? He will decide to give up food, give up water, and starve to death. Where are we going? Whatever you starve will naturally die. Whatever you starve will naturally lose life. Whatever you starve will naturally become powerless. Whatever you starve will naturally become impotent. So when we get angry and we go ahead, so some persons will tell you, I don't want to control my anger. You don't want to control your anger because you are feeding your anger.
How will
Your
you say there's
anger-
no food for God?
Your anger is not so strong. Your anger is not very big. When you give birth to a day-old child, the child is so fragile, the child is so small. But
No.
give that child a couple of months, give that child a couple of days, give that child a couple of years, that child will become so strong. Why is the child becoming strong? Because if you don't have the floor, please mute yourself. Thank you. Mr. Chika, please help us to do the needful. Thank you for staying put. Why is it that the child becomes so strong? Because the child gets food, gets other basic amenities in life. What you feed will continue to be strong. What you feed will continually grow. So one of the strategies of anger management is to starve your anger. One of the strategies of anger management is to deprive anger from getting access to some of the triggers that makes it very violent and active. When someone becomes angry and you question the person, why did you do this? If that individual justifies his action, that justification becomes a food to his anger. That justification becomes an authentication to his anger. But when that individual accepts that what he did or what she did is wrong, what is happening? He is by implication reducing the strength of his anger. So when we take responsibilities for our action, what are we doing? We are reducing the strength of our anger. What have you seen a man that is angry? He will never take responsibility for his action. He will always want to look for a scapegoat. Please permit me to make reference to the Holy Book. Adam was told not to eat of the fruit. But when he did eat, God came down and said, Adam, have you eaten? We are down. He said, I heard your voice and I decided to hide. Why are you hiding? Because I'm naked. How do you know you are naked? Adam said, I have eaten of the forbidden fruit. And God said, why did you eat out of it? And what did Adam say? The woman, he refused to take responsibility for his action. Did Adam eat? Yes, he ate. So why not take responsibility for your action? We also find this in colleagues at work. When they get something done and what they do is not what is commendable, they begin to look for how to put the blame on somebody else. One of the ways we can starve our anger, one of the ways we can manage our anger is to take responsibility for whatever you call. In this way, we are becoming rational enough to understand that there are negative consequences of our anger. When a man that smokes, when you ask a man that smokes, why are you smoking? If the man tells you there's no harm in smoking, what is he doing? He's justifying his action. And as long as he continues to justify his action, he will always have a reason to carry it out. But when he does not justify his action, by implication, he's reducing his ability to carry out that action. Your Excellency, noble lords, great minds, what we are not conscious of, we cannot control. And whatever we justify will surely be magnified. You can hardly stop what you justify. You can hardly manage what you justify. So if we justify our anger, the possibility to manage it is zero. If we see that what we've done is in the right perspective, the possibility of managing it is not there. Whatever you justify, whatever you defend, gains legitimacy within your space. Now, we have a teaser here, and please, I will need a response from the house. Is anger an action or a reaction? You can please unmute and share your thoughts. Anger, is it an action or a reaction? I'd love to hear from the audience, please.
I think it's an action.
Okay, anger is an action. Thank you, Your Excellency. You are highly appreciated. Can I get other thoughts?
I think anger is a reaction.
Okay.
I'm viewing anger as a reaction because something will trigger your anger before you now react. So action, anger is triggered by an action, but it is a reaction that you display your anger openly for people to see through your reactions.
Thank you so much. That answer was awesome. Can we get two more persons to share their thoughts while we make progress? If you don't mind, please.
For me, I look at anger as a reaction, not action.
Okay.
Because from your action determine the reaction. It's what comes out from that action that determines your reaction. So you are reacting to the action that is coming either by what or any other means. So you are reacting to what is happening.
We hope they never steal.
Thank you so much. Can I get one more thought before we make progress?
Going through the part of two is even too frequent.
Is anybody willing to share his thought before we progress? Okay. Thank you so much for all your inputs. Action versus reaction analogy. We can define action as an act, something that is being done, something that is being performed, a task that seeks to be accomplished. And reaction talks about the way we feel, the way we tend to respond to something. So in other words, action is something that is being done, while reaction borders on how we feel, how we respond. When we understand the difference between action and reaction, we'll be able to manage our anger accurately. Anger is just like conflict, as we all know. Conflict is not as bad as what people think. No. If we can study anger and master the act of reaction, separating it from action itself, we have been well equipped to manage our anger. In other words, if I'm angry, it begins to show in the way I think, begins to show in the way I feel. But it does not necessarily translate to what I do. There's a big difference between how I feel and what I do. If I can cut it at that point, then I'm able to put my anger on that check. At a very young age, by default, a child is scared of fire. And at this young age, all fire is fire. The child sees all kinds of fire as harmful. The child sees all kinds of fires the same, whether fire from the candle or from the lighter or from the matches or from the cooker. The child is unable to differentiate. But as the child begins to grow older, the child is able to properly classify these fires into their different categories. As the child becomes more mature, his fear for fire reduces. At another higher matured age, he is able to use this fire accurately. So the ability to manage his fear is a function of growth, exposure, and information. So at a certain age, he is vulnerable. But at another age, because of exposure to information and growth, he's able to manage and master his fear. This is exactly what happens when we are talking about anger. There are some skills we have. There are some information that will be available to us that enables us to create a restraint between the reaction of anger and the manifestation of anger. Whenever a baby is hungry, because the baby is so tender, there's no restraint to his emotion. The baby cries. Any little thing makes the baby to cry. And once the baby is crying, the mother immediately stops whatever she's doing to attend to that baby, because the baby is so young, tender, and fragile. But as the baby begins to grow older, you discover that the baby begins to tolerate more. And the way the baby expresses his or herself becomes much more mature. The more mature the baby is, will determine the way a mother will attend to the baby. Don't forget, when the baby was very tender, once the baby cries, the mother rushes to the baby. But as the baby becomes older, when the baby needs the attention of the mother can decide to finish what she's doing before giving attention to the baby. So the ability for the baby to manage his fear is a function of growth, exposure, and information. Your Excellencies, noble lords, may I submit to us that the information we expose ourselves to is potent enough to help us manage our anger. And one of the nuclear points from this webinar is to make us understand that there's a gap between reaction and action. There's a thin line between reaction and action. If we can put a gap, if we can put a pause, I am angry because of what Mr. A has done. I'm displeased at the action of Mr. B. Emotion is now rising. But before emotion becomes action, we can create a bridge. If we can create that bridge, we will be able to manage our anger efficiently. Everybody has what they call triggers. What triggers your anger may not be what triggers my anger. Self may trigger anger. Internal dispositions, external factors may trigger anger. Anger can be triggered based on the environment we find ourselves. Some of the values we hold may be source of anger. When some persons are unable to achieve their goals, they may be angry. Some persons don't know how to work under pressure. Once they are under pressure, what happens? They become angry. Some persons, once you lie to them, they become angry. Some persons, once they are cheated, they become angry. Some persons, when they are humiliated, they become angry. Some persons, when things do not go the way they plan, they become angry. Some persons, when they are misunderstood by others, they become angry. Some persons, when they find themselves stuck, not knowing what next to do, they become angry. Some persons, when they suffer loss, they get angry. Some persons, when the resources available to them is limited, they also become what? Angry. Can I submit to you that some persons also get angry when they see others progressing. It triggers anger in them. When some persons see others happy, they become angry. It triggers anger in them. Let's examine this anger meter. Please answer these questions as an individual silently. Question number 1. Do you ever get angry?
Yes, sir.
And permit me to also ask, when you are angry, does your anger last? Or is it for a short period of time? When you are angry, do you speak faster or you speak slower? When you are angry, are you even able to see anything? Some persons, when they are angry, they are mute. Is there anybody that you can easily get angry with? Are there people that is difficult for you to get angry with? Have you ever taken time to ask yourself, how do I control my anger? Have you ever taken time to ask yourself, how efficient is my anger management strategy? Because every individual have one way or the other they use in managing their anger. But the question is how efficient it is. Do we spend time to review our anger management mechanism? Do we spend time to overhaul the things we do to keep ourselves under control? Anger is a common emotion. Anger is a healthy emotion. But the most important thing is that we should deal with anger in a very positive way. No one will say does not get angry. Anger is normal. But when we are unable to control our anger, it may have negative impact on our relationships. A wise man said, the best words we may ever live to regret are the words we say when we are angry. Permit me to please take that again. The best words we may live to regret are the words we say when we are angry. Someone else said, don't forget, you can never have control over the reaction of others. You can only have control over your reaction. So when you see others carrying out some tendencies, we should not be surprised. It is not in our place to determine how others react, but it is in our place to control ourselves. So we should not allow what others do to directly impact on what we do. There should be some checks and balances that will enable us to put our anger under check. Some persons will prefer a very straight line method of managing anger. Think before you speak. If we can but pause before speaking, when our emotions start rising, we may be able to avoid falling into the trap of anger. We'll be able to efficiently manage our anger. Think before you speak. And when you are calm, express your concerns. Very important. There are issues that makes you uncomfortable. There are issues that makes you prone to anger. These are the issues you should focus your target on. They will tell you, get some exercise, take a time to work out. But we should understand that when we are angry, we should not think of escalating the issue. What we should be thinking of, what way forward, what next can be done to ameliorate the issue. Whatever makes a man angry means there's already a problem at hand. Whatever makes a man angry means there are issues that are not favorable. The question should be, what we should do. Should it be to improve the tension, to escalate the tension? or to de-escalate it. Very crucial. When we are able to identify possible solutions, then you will discover that the action that we will carry out by virtue of that reaction will not be negative. Stick with the I statements. We said this earlier. When you are angry, take responsibility. When you are angry, take responsibility. Have you ever seen anyone that will gladly whip himself? No. Have you ever seen any morally sane person that will gladly begin to cut himself? No. When you see others as the source of your anger, that anger will continue. That anger will escalate. The frequency of that anger will be on the rise. But when you see yourself as being a part of the issue, your temper will naturally come down. Don't hold a grudge. Forgiveness is a powerful tool. If you allow anger and other negative feelings to crowd out positive feelings, you might find yourself swallowed up by your own bitterness and sense of injustice. Don't forget, you are the first victim of your anger. You are the first recipients of the consequences of your anger. Don't hold a grudge. When you hold a grudge, you are stagnated. Your sense of judgment becomes impaired. You see nothing good in that person. I have always said to as many persons I have the opportunity to speak to, life is see you later. Life is not all about today. There's always a tomorrow. If possible, use a sense of humor to lighten your tension. If possible, diffuse your tension, diffuse that anger with a sense of humor. Practice realization skills. These skills are not unique to an individual. They differ from person to person. We must have realization skills. There may be some things we do to unwind. So when emotions begin to stir up, we can cork it. We can bottle it. We can put a bridge, a boundary between the reaction and our action by practicing some realization skills. It differs from persons to persons. When you undergo a thorough psychological training, you'll be further exposed to all the different types of realization skills. Don't forget, we said earlier that what makes us get the ability to master ourselves and master our actions are the information we are exposed to and the skills that we acquire over a period of time. What makes a child who was once scared of fire not being able to prepare food and cook is because over time, the child has gotten exposure, the child has gotten experience, and has acquired some skills to master his or her fears. So we can master our emotions, we can master our skills, we can master our fears, we can master anger. And please, another important tips in managing anger, know when to seek help. Know when to seek help. I've always said, no one was created to do it all, but we are all here to play our role as we journey through life. Learning to control anger can be very challenging at times. It may be very difficult. It may be very complex. Like we said, it's not a walk in the park. Seek help from professionals when you discover that yours is very critical. Master your triggers. What are the things that make me to get angry? Learn from past experiences. It is quite unfortunate that humans, we easily forget some of the things that have happened to us in the past. I believe, I may not be 100% sure, but I believe if I can think back to my past, looking at some of the experiences that I've been made to undergo because I was unable to manage my anger properly, I don't think I need somebody else to tell me how well to manage my anger. So when we learn from past experiences, even if we have not had such experiences, maybe experiences from other persons, it will make it very easier for us to manage our anger. Recognizing anger. When anger begins to build, we should be able to recognize anger. Looking at the face of someone that is angry. Remember I said, some persons, when they are angry, you will not know. Some people smile when they are angry. But for some persons, it is easy to detect when they are angry. Looking at the face of someone that is angry, his eyebrows are put down, brought together. The eyes are wide open. The lips are pressed tightly towards each other. Some persons, when they are angry, their vocal presentation begins to. No. Have you ever had a conversation with someone on phone, and from the tone of that person, if it's someone you are used to, you can tell if that person is okay or not. From the tone of that person, you can be able to have an idea about how that person is feeling at that point in time. So, to an extent, vocal expressions can be a way of recognizing when someone is angry. Sensation of anger. Some persons, once they are becoming angry, they begin to feel a hot sensation. Some persons, they begin to sweat. Some persons, they begin to clench their feet. Some persons begin to shiver. It differs from persons to persons. And you see some persons, once they are angry, their posture changes. They become puffed up. They become twice their size, ready to devour anyone that comes their way. Anger can easily initiate a cycle of violence. One has to be very honest in our assessment. Anger can initiate an unending cycle of violence. If we are unable to create a gap between the anger in an emotional state as a reaction and anger as an action. We know pencil. Pencil is straight, but we can break it into two to have two halves. So anger can be broken into two. One part, emotion, reaction. The other part, action. When we can disconnect it and put a bridge in between the two, we are on our way to managing our anger efficiently. When we are angry, we are most likely to say things that will hurt others. A very powerful tool in anger management is focus on the action and not the actor. Permit me to repeat this again. Focus on the action and not the actor. When you keep on focusing on the person that is making you angry, when you keep on looking at the situation that is triggering your anger, whether you like it or not, that anger will continue to boil. That anger will continue to build up. But when you take your eyes off the actor and look at the possible action that may likely occur, we may become sane and rational enough to doubt any consequence of our action. Let's take this scenario. You were supposed to meet with your friend in a restaurant for dinner, and your friend arrives late. What not to do is don't retaliate against your friend by attacking his character. Don't react against your friend by attacking him directly. The default response is now you are coming. You were inconsiderate to keep me waiting. You are so unreliable. That is what you should say by default. But instead of, he knows he's already late. Why reminding him that he's late? And you'll be so surprised. He does not even feel good about the fact that he came late. Husband and wife relationship, the man has done something wrong. The wife keeps on reminding the man of what he did that is wrong. There is no way peace will be available in that home. Or the man begins to remind the woman 2 years ago, on the 3rd of May, 2021, by 6:30 p.m., this is what you did. That is, when you keep on reminding persons of their wrongdoing, you are making anger management impossible. So what should you say to the person? I feel worried you were not here on time. I appreciate it when you set time for me, but feel hurt when you are late. A summary of all we've just said: no one can sleep and wake up one morning and master the act of anger management. It is not possible. It is what we do over time. It is based on the exposures we have. It is based on the experiences we have. Permit me to recommend this book for you, please. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is one among the best books that have ever been written on human relations. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Powerful book. When you are able to read this book, your eyes will be open to a whole lot of things. Don't forget, one of the most fundamental ways of managing anger is our ability to acquire skills. And these are skills we acquire through training. There are different trainings. One of the trainings I will recommend is the mediation, certification, and accreditation training. When you go through that training, you will begin to see life from a different perspective. You begin to value people, and you begin to make the most out of your relationship. Another way we can manage our anger is when we deal with issues as soon as they begin to occur. Many issues that we ignore, they grow and become a monster. And when they become monsters, we begin to grow with ourselves. Your Excellencies, noble lords, I'm delighted that we've been able to spend the past 1 hour, 13 minutes engaging ourselves. I do not take this for granted. I deeply appreciate you. And I believe that as we journey in our paths in life, the way we relate with persons will begin to take a new turn. As we round up, please permit me to introduce to you the ICMC ODRO portal and online dispute resolution portal for any dispute you have. While wait for issues to become a concern before you handle them, you can file all you need to do from the comfort of your home. www.odro.icmcng.org. You get a template filing your concerns and they'll be attended to professionally. Are you a landlord? You have disputes with your tenants, or you have family disputes? They will all be attended to. Once you click on the website from the comfort of your homes, filing your concerns, and professionals are there that will handle them for you. One of the reasons why anger lingers is because we don't handle the issue when it begins. I thank you and appreciate you for listening to my thoughts. You are awesome. Please, at this juncture, we can reason together, share your thoughts, observations, additions, recommendations. The floor is open. Thank you so much. Please unmute and let's hear your thought, please.
Please. For me, I want to ask a question. How can we get a manual on this topic?
Thank you so much for your question. The recorded version of this webinar will be sent to as many that indicate their interest. So if you don't mind, you can drop your email address and your phone number on the chat box. We'll send you the recorded version. Thank you so much. You are awesome. For all those that are interested in getting the recorded version of this webinar, please do well to drop your email address, your full name, and your phone number on the chat box, and we will send you the recorded version of this webinar. Thank you so much. We are free to share our thoughts.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, please, the floor is open. Does anybody have any contribution, any observation?
Hello,
any
can you hear
different line of thoughts? Yes, please, go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, mine is just very, very sincere and warm commendation to your kind self for keeping up this up to date, updating our knowledge on issues that have to do with disputes, anger, and the like. I personally find you as a source of inspiration, and it's just a word of encouragement to please keep it up and keep at what you are doing. It's a good thing for humankind, for mankind. We wish you all the best. God bless you, and we look forward to having more of such sessions with you. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, you are a great man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your words of encouragement. God will help us to continue what we are doing. Thank you so much. Can we take one or two more reactions before we call it a day?
Yes, and it will be unfair if I do not a shallow word and to join my colleague, particularly the person that I just spoken, to add that you have been very awesome and keeping us abreast with webinar of this nature is an invaluable contribution to the wealth of knowledge for us mostly who are mediators. I want to, on behalf of every participant, to thank you for this wonderful work you are doing, for the energy and industry you put into it to make sure that you deliver the webinar. If we are to pay for training of this nature, I will tell you, it would have been a very expensive. Thank you very much, Sam. I want to encourage you to continue with your line of consulting and trying to sell idea for this nature to everyone who cares to listen to you. I want to thank you once again. May God be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so
very much, my brother from another mother.
Your Excellency,
that very well researched presentation. You are a great man, and I appreciate you. Keep the flag flying. This is wishing you the very best now and always.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. On the final note, I want to appreciate the PhD students of Peace and Conflict Studies in the National Open University, Abuja. They actually brought up a request that we should do a webinar on anger management, and that informed the choice of that webinar. This means that you are free to send in your request. If there's any area you want us to do a research on, we can easily take them, work on it, and present a webinar in that regard. In the absence of any other request, we want to look at a sensitive topic in our next webinar that will be coming up the last Sunday of May. But if there's a popular demand, we may do it in a fortnight. The topic is peace pills in the society we find ourselves. Taking into consideration the societal pressures, there are some pills that we can take to attain peace. The same way we take pills to cure our ailments, there are pills we can use to have sustainable peace. And this will inform our next webinar topic. Your Excellencies, noble lords, I can't thank you less. And I do not take this precious time of yours for granted that you have shared with me. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please don't forget, if you need the recorded version of this webinar, drop your name, phone number, your email address on the chat box, and we will do well to share it with you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.